Hi, it's Deborah Hamilton, Hamilton Law and Mediation, the Why Do Pets Matter podcast, and of course, this wonderful community, the MAAP community, who's making a plan for their pets so their pets have their journey navigated in case something happens to their beloved owners. So we're on Thanksgiving weekend. I am not making this evergreen. We are starting the Thanksgiving holiday, and it's been such a busy week where I have seen several dogs posted on Facebook, two beautiful Cavaliers who need a home. And it's happens in the blink of an eye. It's never something we plan for. And we have to plan for it because, quite frankly, our dogs really anticipate that we're going to navigate that journey that they take when we're not there to take care of them. So that's why you're here tonight, and I'm so grateful you're here tonight. And while you're sitting around the Thanksgiving table, this shouldn't cause an argument. This might be one of the best discussions you have. And people might say, oh, don't talk about it. Don't talk about it. This is a happy time, Thanksgiving. Say, listen, I'd just like you to know that there's a note on my refrigerator that says, these are the people who I'm going to have my pets go to in the event that something occurs. And this is where you get the information, because it is so important for your family to know where and what you want to do with your animals. It is so important. It is the most important decision you have to make, whether you're young or old, because quite frankly, we don't have a crystal ball, and those crystal balls are not as clear as we think they are. So I'm so glad you're all here. I'm going to check in with everyone. I'm going to start with you, Mark, if you don't mind. Tell us where you're calling from and what your pets' names are.
Hi, Mark Mendelson, basically Metro Phoenix.
Oh, wonderful.
Actually, Diane used to call in before she started working, and I got off a little early today, so I figured I'd join in.
Oh, awesome. I'm so glad you're there. Give Diane our best. We do miss her. And how are the kids?
The kids are doing great. Rigel has actually had two really nice show weekends.
Really nice wins. I saw that. Congratulations. Irish setters.
And two mini long hair dachshunds.
Right. Yep. You guys have the same thing I had, only I had standard dachshunds, but the same kind of mixture. You had the short-legged redheads and the long-legged redheads. Are your dachshunds red?
No, they're mini Gordon setters.
Oh, okay. So you've got the Gordons there. Great. Perfect. Well, Mark, I'm so glad. Mark is Diane's husband. So we all remember Diane at the beginning of the MAAP program. She used to come all the time, and then her job got in the way. So now Mark's here tonight. So I'm going to go check in with Connie. How the Wheatons doing?
They are doing just great. Thank you, Deborah. And happy Thanksgiving to all. If you hear some ambient noise in the background, my gardener just showed up.
Well, no problem.
Friday morning, but because of Thanksgiving, he's here today. And of course, the dogs are going nuts. We are again in the D for disaster mode, as I'm sure you all saw back east. We are expecting horrible Santa Ana winds with gusts up to 60 and 70 miles an hour this afternoon and tomorrow, and possibly into Friday, with humidities going down to between 2 and 8%. So needless to say, even though it's not supposed to be hot, the dryness, it's beyond belief. And, I'm walking around with a Kleenex box under my nose as a result. So, again, we are all looking to the skies and
hoping for rain.
Well, the rain is unlikely to come because we're in a La Nina situation, but we don't want to see any plumes of black smoke or fire choppers flying overhead or anything like that.
I know.
So again, we are back to Southern California disaster mode.
Oh God. And it's unnerving. And I know you have a plan, and you have a plan with your colleagues in the area, because you've been so nice as to spread the word around your area. So everybody's ready to drop and run if they have to, which is really important. So I'm so grateful, and I hope Thanksgiving is completely uneventful and that maybe you get some rain. That would be nice, but it doesn't look like it. Hey, Susan, how are you doing? We missed you last week.
Oh, thank you. I'm doing okay. And I want to say happy Thanksgiving to everyone. And Maggie, she's had her ups and her downs, and it just seems like she's very sensitive to the vibe that's going on in the household. And the least little thing will trigger her barking and get her in that. But she can also be incredibly sweet and wonderful. So I feel like I can't.
She's a work in progress. She's a work in progress. And I thought of you the other day because I am completely addicted to the home renovation programs on HGTV. And one of them had a renovation for a woman who they wanted to paint a picture of something that would be meaningful to her. And her husband, who's a physician, said, well, paint the picture of Nolo, because she loves New Orleans. So she called the dog Nolo. And she said, the girl who was going to paint the picture said, I'd love to come and meet her. And he goes, no, you can't, because the first 3 times she met me, she drew blood. So they love her. They think she's wonderful. She is some sort of mixed poodle of something. And she's a mini, sort of. So she's small. But so these things happen, and you just have to always, like he said, no, you can't see her because she will bite you. You always have to be upfront about that. You cannot, and you always have to err on the side of putting Maggie away when family isn't around, because it really is important to make sure nobody else gets injured as you work on Maggie, who is a work in progress.
Yeah, she is. And I'm actually considering the possibility of going to medication, because Kathy did recommend it as a, for a short term to get through the training.
Right.
So, seriously considering that option.
Well, there's so many options out there now, especially for dogs who've been affected during the pandemic, as not being able to get out. And then, as you said, rightly so, I might add, the energy that we have during these times is up and down as well. I mean, here we are, we're all traveling. I mean, I'm in Florida, so we're all traveling to Thanksgiving. And in the back of our minds, we're thinking, well, will this trigger another spike in the pandemic because we're all traveling? Jim and I are wearing masks. We go everywhere wearing masks. We're not wearing masks with our sons, but all of us are vaccinated, and Jim and I are boosted as well. So we think it's pretty safe to be with our sons. We're not going anywhere else. We're going to be in here, but we're only going to be with our sons. And it really is important to make sure that you stay with people who are going to either show you their vaccination cards or say, yes, I'm vaccinated. I have to say, when I visited my son in New York a few weeks ago, I had an incredible sense of security because everyone was wearing masks, even walking down the street in New York. And everywhere you went, you had to not only show your vaccination card, but you had to show your identification. So they knew you were who was on that, vaccination card, which at least makes you feel a little safer. That everybody is rowing the boat in the same direction. So I'm really thrilled. Yeah. So tonight I'm going to really focus on how to have that conversation with your family and your friends. So the people who sit around your table at Thanksgiving are your family and your friends. And I will bet that there has never come a time where you've sat down and said to them, listen, I have a plan for my pet or pets, and I need you to understand what that is. Now, if you're having dinner just with you and your immediate family, or just you, or you're going to your friend's house, it's a perfect time to say, listen, I listen to this woman every Wednesday night at 6:30, or I listen to the tape of this call later on some other day. And she said, really at Thanksgiving, it's the time to have that conversation. And as I said at the beginning, sometimes people will say, well, this is just not the right kind of conversation to have because you're not going anywhere. You're healthy as a horse. You're this, you're that. Well, as I said, those two beautiful Cavaliers now don't have an owner, and I'm not sure if the owner was sick or not. However, no plan was made. It was, okay, my daughter will take the dogs, or my son will take the dogs, or my sister will take the dogs, and then they can't take them and keep them. They can take them, but they can't keep them. So if you were able to supply your sister, your son, your daughter with the information to call Connie, who's the breeder, and return the dogs to her if there is no way to find someone to care for the dog, if they can't care for it, or to go to, I actually said to her, did you call the breeder if she bought it from the breeder? But I know that a lot of times we don't have that information at the fingertips so someone can find it. Right. So I bought these two beautiful Cavaliers from a wonderful breeder who would take them back, but my sister doesn't know who those people are. And so that gets to be a real barrier to entry when you're trying to make sure that someone knows what you want to do with your pets. We love our pets. We are going to outlive them. We're going to have that saddest day of our lives. Absolutely. Connie had one a few months ago, and, my guys are older, and, we all have lived and lost. However, that is something that we understand. But if we are loved by our pets and our pets lose us, they don't get that. And they don't know how to navigate what happens after that. They just don't know. And so it really is imperative for you now at Thanksgiving, when you're sitting around with your family, to say, listen, there's a piece of paper on my refrigerator that has three names. It's, my sister, my son, and my husband, and two breeder friends of mine. I want you to know where it is so that if something happens to me, all of you know how to navigate where the pets are going to go if you can't care for them. So in my stead, my sons would, of course, take my dogs, but one of them has a cat, and my dogs don't necessarily like cats, and the other one lives in a no pet apartment. So that would be hard for them. Thankfully, my husband would keep the pets. So that would be great. But if something occurs and they can't keep the dogs, there are people in the MAP plan, my MAP plan, that, okay, they go here, they go here, they go here. And of course, the people who are in my MAP plan know that if my sons end up having an apartment or something where they can have the dogs are to be returned to them. But this is a give and take. It's a transparency. It's a redundancy, which is so important because, as Connie spoke about, we have the D's. So you have death, that's our death. Okay, so the will comes into play, but you need to have a piece of paper outside the will so that people know exactly what you want to do with your pet. So for me, that is the MAP plan. You sit there and you make a plan. So what's going to happen to my pets if something happens to me? Then you address the needs of the pet. So for Susan, that is, well, make sure that you know that Maggie might bite you because that's what she's doing right now. That's what she's doing. And Connie would probably say, well, they're terriers and they dig holes or whatever it is. So make sure if you put them somewhere, that it's going to be a lunar surface if you don't make plans. For me, with Irish setters, make sure you've got a really good fence, because otherwise they will just run till their heart's content, and you really need to know what to do. Some Irish setters can climb over fences, so that's something you have to tell people as well. Some dogs are really good eaters, some dogs aren't. Some dogs are afraid of thunder and lightning, some dogs aren't. Some dogs greet people at the door enthusiastically and probably could kill them, and other dogs are very well behaved and trained. None of mine, but okay. I own up to the fact that my dogs are not necessarily trained very well. When people come, they love to say hello. These are things you need to share with people. So it's make a plan, that's the M, address the needs of the pet. Are they on medication? When do they need their heartworm pill? All of this stuff. Yes, some of it can be retrieved from the veterinarian, but if you don't tell the veterinarian that these people can retrieve this information, the veterinarian's not going to give it to them. So that's the P. So you have making a plan, addressing the needs of the pet, and then, of course, appointing caregivers, which your family, your friends all know about each other, so that if your family's away for Thanksgiving at somebody else's house, I realized today that we all used to get together for Thanksgiving when the kids were young. And now we don't get together with my husband's sisters or my sister because the families are too big. There's, spouses now and grandchildren. And so we do our own thing now. So they don't know exactly what's going to happen or what we'd like to do with our pets, but you have to write it down. And then, of course, the last one is P. And Mark, you might not know this because this is your first time, but the P stands for publishing it. So if you're going to write this plan down and you're going to ask everyone to care for your pets, you need to share it with each of those people who you want to have care for your pets. Okay, so it would be Connie, and then it would be Karen, and then it would be Susan, who would be caring for your pets, and they know about each other. Because what if Connie's out of town and can't come to take the pets? Well, then she knows to call Susan or Karen to make sure one of them can get to the pets till she can get back. You always want to let people know who is in the order because it's important for them to get to the pets. So I'm going to stop now because I know I've probably scared all of you, but this is the absolute best time to have the conversation when you're sitting around the table and saying, listen, I have these 3 dogs and I love them. I want you to know what I'd love to have done with them if something happens to me. And when they all start protesting, nothing's going to happen to you. Well, I hope it doesn't. I really do. But in case it does, I want you to know where I want my dogs. I know that Jan Zyke would probably have loved to have had that moment where she could have sat around the Thanksgiving table. And I know her sister-in-law and brother would have loved it had she sat around the Thanksgiving table and said, listen, I have these 3 friends who co-own dogs with me, or I've co-bred with, or I go to dog shows with. This is who they are. This is their number. If anything happens to me, call them. Because when everyone converged to help, they didn't know anyone. They knew no one. So it was very frightening for them that they were letting these dogs, the last thing his sister, had, and the most important thing his sister had, go to people who probably were exactly who they said they were. However, he didn't know. And so that's a little scary for your family. And of course, the Cavalier King Charles, she has her daughter taking care of the dogs, but she can't keep them long term. And now they're trying to find some place for these dogs to go. So we've always talked about leaving it to the purebred rescue that's affiliated with the National Club, because then the dogs will be evaluated appropriately. And there's usually a nice list of people who are looking for dogs that are older. So that's always your go-to. And if you've adopted a dog from a rescue, that rescue would be that last ditch person who would be taking the dog in the event you can't care for it. So before I continue rambling on even more, I'm going to check in with Kieran. How's everything with you, Kieran? Good?
Slow and steady as usual, with one very strange event during the week where I was talking about our old friend Leo,
right,
with a couple of strangers outside a cafe in the middle of this big square in Santa Cruz. So I was trying to explain that the book actually wrote itself, that there was a sort of mass of interested people, and the idea and the circumstances really just came together, and I did very little. And then one of the people at the table said, well, what's a terrier? Which is a fair question. What's a terrier? Some people just have never. And I was about to answer, and then I saw this shape moving in the middle of the square, running towards our table. And guess what it was?
A terrier.
A terrier. So there's something very strange about this whole project. It just does write itself. And I don't know what the next chapter is, but I know it's going to be weird and wonderful.
Absolutely. So for you, Mark, and I don't know if Diane heard about this at the beginning, but Kieran wrote this great book that we as breeders should always give out. It's a book, the title of which is When Your Child Asks, when your child asks for a dog, One-Eyed Leo starts the conversation. Is that correct?
Guides.
Is
guides the conversation.
Guides the conversation,
guides.
Yes. So when your child asks for a dog, One-Eyed Leo guides the conversation. It's a great book for kids. If somebody's coming to buy a puppy from you, if you're having puppies, it's a great book to give out. It has the MAAP plan at the end so that you know to make a plan for the pet. as well, not just to, it's adopted or to buy it. We are talking about dogs in general. One-eyed Leo is a shelter dog, but in the book, Kieran was kind enough to edit it a little to have all dogs in general, because every dog really needs people to make a plan for it, so it doesn't end up in the shelter. It's not just about shelter dogs, although there are a lot of them. It's about all dogs, everyone's dog, what you need to know before you get a dog, how much time it's going to take, what's the expense of a dog. It's all there so people can really, and I love at the end, it talks to the parents. It doesn't just talk to the kids, it talks to the parents as well, which is really important when it comes to making sure that people understand what they're getting into when they get a dog. So Kieran has been coming for, God, I think it's over a year now, Kieran, or maybe more, that you've been coming to the
we're
MAAP call.
near there now.
Yep,
Yeah.
I think we are too. So I am thrilled, because this, I have to tell you that I went back and had Rose check the statistics, and this is sent out to everyone who registers, so that they can listen to it later. And all those things that tell you whether or not someone opens an email and whether they listen to it. This is one of the most listened to podcasts later on, the MAAP plan, because people really want to hear what we talk about. Funny, we're here, the six of us, talking about it, but people want to hear what we're talking about when it comes to questions we have with respect to what can we do for our pets. So Mark, I'm hoping that Diane put up the sign on her fridge when we went into COVID. Yep.
It's been there for months.
Yep, because that is the first line of defense. God forbid the EMT comes in. I just wrote an article for the Irish Setter Club of America that was in there to talk about what to do with your pets, and it's really interesting that we just don't ever want. And it's not a criticism of animal care and control; they're wonderful. But if we can avoid their having to take our dogs because we've left them enough information, and there's a live body there to help assuage their fear that these dogs are going to be left alone in an apartment, then our pets will stay in the trajectory we want, as opposed to whatever happens later. It's really interesting. I got a few questions last time. People have written to me and they've said, well, why would animal care and control give it to a shelter? And why those people didn't answer the telephone call, and they should have answered, or the dogs wouldn't be given away. And I said, you're absolutely right, but especially now with what's happened with COVID, people haven't been on their phones. They've been almost on ventilators, or at least really, really sick. And it's always a case that I know Connie's taking care of it. She knows I'm sick. And I know Connie's taking care of it, and Connie's not taking care of it because she's worried about me. So if you have all that information up on the wall, then Connie can just say, okay, I'm taking care of Deborah, Kieran, and Susan. Please take care of the dogs. This is, and it's a family. It's a collaboration and a redundancy of the care of your pets. So I'm so glad that Diane put that up, because we don't have a crystal ball, and we don't want our dogs taken to animal care and control and then, possibly going off to a shelter. Everybody says, well, that's never going to happen to me. And I'm sure that the lady with the two Cavaliers didn't think she was not going to outlive her Cavaliers as well. And maybe she did say to her daughter, listen, you'll take care of the Cavaliers when I'm gone. And this is typical, because when I go give these talks and people are, older parents are there and they have 3 or 4 shelter dogs that they've adopted because they're really great people and take dogs out of shelters. The kids come up to me and go, I don't want my mother's old smelly dog, but I'm not going to tell her that because she'll write me out of the will. So yeah, I'll take the dog and then I'll get rid of the dog. I don't care. And I sit there and I just go, okay, so you need this redundancy to make sure that that's not what happens. You might have great kids. I have great kids. However, some people having great kids who say, yeah, I'll take care of the dogs. And then when they transpire, or expire, excuse me, the kids put the dogs in the shelters. So that's why it's always important to have redundancy, because Connie might just have said she'd help me with the dogs. So, she could get them for whatever reason. And, Susan and Kieran are my backups to make sure that Connie does what she's supposed to do as well, because this is the redundancy and the checks and balances. We want to make sure that people know what we want to do with our pets, and always want to make sure that our pets are safe and well cared for in the way we want. Yes, Connie.
Well, and again, I apologize for the the yard equipment in the background. Just as an example, speaking of the wildfire danger that we are in right now, 3 of my 4 people are in high fire danger areas. 2 of them live one up the hill from me, one up the street and around the corner. So if I have to get out of here, they have to get out of here. Another one lives up in Ventura, and Ventura is the first to get hit from the desert going out to the ocean with the horrible Santa Ana winds. So, God knows what their situation is up there as well. And they have had terrible wildfires in the very recent past. So right there, 3 of my 4 may not be able to help out with my dogs if I need them to.
They'll be running with their dogs. And
Wow.
You betcha.
Yeah. And what might happen, which would be great, is you all think about rendezvousing at a certain place,
Right.
So if you all have to evacuate, that's my biggest thing is when the hurricane is coming and the fire is imminent, and, make sure that when the weathermen tell you a hurricane might come in the next 72 hours, call the hotel that you can then cancel if you have to. Don't make it through hotels.com. Call the hotel directly so that you can get that same day cancellation and make a reservation just in case you need to get out. And this way, Connie, with your friends, you could just say, okay, we're going inland, we're going up wherever you got to go, which is really hard for you guys because it's sort of like everywhere. But wherever you can go to escape it. Or, as I always say, use your membership directory if you belong to an all-breed club, or ask the shelter if they have people who are in the area that you can get in touch with, because you want to make sure that you'll take them in if they need it, and they'll take you in if you need it. I know, Mark, you're probably going to the National next year in Colorado, and
Maybe.
I am. Yeah, and I am as well. And so I'm going to make sure that I get in touch with people from North Carolina to Colorado and say, if something happens to me, can I put your number on my car dashboard so that I'll know, in case I can't make the phone call, that name will be there. There's someone here in Missouri. There's someone here in Delaware. There's someone here in Ohio. Because it really is important that, and it's amazing when I do that, people go, oh, I have a face to a name now. Thank you. That's so nice, because we're all in this together. We all understand. But if something happens, you want someone who knows your breed and who knows who to call to pick up your dogs if something happens to you, or at least where to go. So in Ohio, I'll go to Denise Dolan. She has a big backyard and I can let the dogs run. Or if I get hurt and I'm in Kentucky, say she's close enough, or Indiana, she's close enough in Ohio that she'd come get the dogs and bring them back to her and keep them safe. These are the kind of things we need to think about, especially when we're on the road, because it does happen, and it isn't your fault. Somebody hits you. I know Eileen Hackett has had 2 horrible accidents with her van that weren't her fault. Somebody hit her, but these are the kind of things you need to make sure. And all of your dogs need to have tags on their crates. I walked up to my handler's crate for one of the dogs that I now co-own. She's a youngster. And there were no names on the crates. And I said, well, which one is Louise? And she said, oh, you can't tell your dog from the other dog. And I said, oh yeah, I can, but the police officer can't. And animal care and control can't. I said, so I need to tell you, you need to put this up. So I sent her some crate tags for her crates, and she's got them up now, because it really is important that these dogs are identified and that there is a number to call, and not a number, one of the numbers has to be a number that's not with you, right? So it has to be someone who can come and get the dogs if you're injured. because that's what we need to do. I need to have someone who's going to go to animal care and control and pick up the dogs, and they have to have a piece of paper that says, hi, Deborah Hamilton gave me permission to pick up her dogs from animal care and control if something was to happen to her. It has to be dated pretty recently. It could be dated and you can say something like until I revoke it or whatever, but it's always good to make sure you update those people, that you check in with them all the time. That's why Thanksgiving's good. You might be sitting around the table with all of those people and you just check in and say, listen, I have you down as the person who's going to take care of my dog if something happens to me. Can you do that? Oh my God. I just moved from my house of 4 acres to a non-dog friendly VRBO. No, I can't. And so you're like, wow, I've got to find somebody to replace my top person. Sally Anderson, who's usually on this call, she's flying to Arizona just by you, Mark, to see her family. And I was her first line of contact and I moved away. And now I could always drive up to New York and get the dogs, but I'm renting a VRBO that doesn't take animals. So I would have to stay in a hotel. Now I would do that. I'd go up to her house and take care of the dogs. But that's something you really need to know. You really need to keep that information top of mind and always check in with people. So we're coming to the end, and I know everybody's got 17 million things to do. Tell me what, are you staying home for Thanksgiving and what you're having now? Kieran, I'm going to start with you because I know Thanksgiving isn't a big thing in Tenerife, and you probably aren't going to be celebrating it. So I'll start with you. Are you doing anything for Thanksgiving?
Well, I was actually out with a few Americans this evening and they were talking all about it. So I learned a little bit more.
Oh, good. Are they inviting you to Thanksgiving dinner tomorrow?
There is one restaurant in Santa Cruz where I think everybody goes. And unfortunately, it was flat booked out about a month ago. So I might get down and have a drink with them at the end of the evening.
Oh, good. Well, we're thankful you're here. At least I am. I'm very thankful you're here every week, and I appreciate it. And I'm so thankful you wrote the book because it's going to make such a big difference. Connie, what are you doing for Thanksgiving, and what are you thankful for?
Well, I am thankful for all of you. I am thankful for my dogs and my family and all my wonderful friends. I was planning up until this morning to go out to the Palm Springs area and overnight with a group of Wheaton friends. But unfortunately, Patsy, who was at my feet, had some minor surgery on Monday. She had a couple of cysts removed, and in the middle of the night, she started scratching at them. I have a t-shirt on her, but I didn't want to board her at the vet over a holiday when nobody would be there continually in case she decided to rip out the stitches with her hind leg scratching. So yeah. I am staying home instead. And with all the crazy fire weather and the winds, it's probably much safer. Yeah. So I'm just going to have a quiet Thanksgiving with the dogs and turkey and watch the National Dog Show from Philadelphia. And in fact, I am happy to announce we have a lot of Patsy and Casey's relatives who did very, very well at the show, which was actually last weekend.
Yeah. Wow.
And in fact, Patsy's niece won Best Breed.
Oh, so great. So she'll be in the group.
And her young owner, who is college bound next year, won Best Junior Handler. He is our #1 Wheaton handler in our national club. So we have lots of people to root for.
Absolutely. Mark, are you staying home or going out for Thanksgiving?
I am actually. Diane doesn't cook, so I do all the cooking.
So does my husband. You're a good man, Charlie Brown.
So I will be cooking Thanksgiving dinner just for the two of us, but we are making care packages for some of our single friends.
Oh, wonderful.
So those will go, and those will be delivered on Friday at the dog shows this weekend.
Oh, fabulous. Yes, I know there's always dog shows this weekend. And of course, Mark, you know that Cheryl Steele's dog won the breed and the group at the National Dog Show. So we have a lot to cheer about as well, because it was a really big day for Irish setters at the National Dog Show.
It sounded like it was a pretty big day all around for a lot of people.
Absolutely.
That weekend.
That was a great weekend. It was amazing. So we've been doing, a lot of Irish setters have been doing a lot of really nice winning, and it's a credit to their breeders and it's a credit to their owners. If they're not their breeders, and their handlers, if they're not owner handled, because, you know, they're just wild and crazy little dogs. So we're big dogs. So we're glad. And again, congratulations to you and Diane. What a wonderful weekend you had last weekend. That was pretty nifty.
Well, I guess, yeah, you know it, but I guess maybe everybody else may not know it. We went up to Vegas in October. Our girl finished her championship. She needed a major. She did it in the morning. She picked up 2 select pitches for 10 points. And then this last weekend, and she started the morning with the best opposite of the specialty. The afternoon, she went best of breed for a best in specialty win for 10 points on that day. And she picked up a best opposite on Sunday for 4 points. And she's got 3 shots this weekend to finish the grand. And we may not be at the national because when she comes in season, she will be bred.
Oh, good. Oh, good. More babies. We love more babies. Well, good luck this weekend.
Thank you. So, as you said, you'll see us at the national. Maybe, maybe not. Depends on when she comes in and how all that goes.
Oh, I know. I missed the 100th national in Michigan because my girl whelped that week. So I couldn't go. And it was very depressing, but I think that's the only national I ever missed. So Susan, are you cooking?
Yeah, but I cook every day, so it's not really anything special. In fact, I love making my own cranberry sauce, which has tons of antioxidants in it, and it's so easy to do. And yeah, and I'm going to be having a quiet day, just like Connie. Going to watch the dog show on TV and the parade.
And the Catans. Don't miss the Catans.
I would love to see the Catans get more recognition and more. Yeah, just more awareness of this breed, and just love the breed. And I will always be a Cotan person. So, and I'm thankful for all of you. And I'm thankful for my Joseph doing better
Oh, good.
with his health. And thankful for just being alive and all the blessings we have here in America. So,
yep. I am thrilled too. I mean, I am so grateful. I got here 12 hours. I am worn out. I can tell you the drive was 12 hours. I'm worn out.
Oh my goodness. You did all the driving by yourself?
Jim drove a few times when I needed to take a break. So he drove a few hours. I drove probably around 10, and he might have driven about 2 hours. So that was fair. That's what he does. He doesn't like to drive. He likes me to drive. And so you just want to make sure that you take care of yourselves, take care of your dogs, no bones left out. Remember, turkey bones, not really good for anybody's dog. Not too much turkey either. They could get, a little bit of the runs, which we all know. I love to give them some stuffing though. So I'm 1-800-BAD-MOTHER. I am so grateful for all of you. Thank you for taking time this Wednesday night before the holiday to be here. And to everyone who's listening at home, remember, this is a time to be thankful. We're all here. Our dogs are here. We love them all. We are all going to try to stay as healthy as we can. Things are getting back to normal, knock on wood. And until next week, kiss your dogs for me. This is Deborah Hamilton. Bye, everyone.
See you
Bye,
next